in the morning. I can't sleep. My jaw's busted. They wired it up a couple hours ago and it hurts every time I move my mouth. I lost tonight. I gave everything and I still lost. Feels like I let everyone down. I'm not unbreakable.
But it causes repeated trauma to the brain. And over years and years of this happening, people can get what's called chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE syndrome. And it's almost like a disease, because with repeated trauma to the brain, and that can lead to memory problems, mood swings, even trouble with movements, and eventually people can develop dementia, like Alzheimer's disease. And Jake Paul got knocked out by Anthony Joshua this past Friday night. And so I want to break this down from a medical perspective. I'm a neurosurgeon with over 25 years of experience. And so, you know, what happens is when you get hit in the head with that kind of force, like in boxing, our brain actually moves inside our skull, and it can bump into the skull, which is a firm structure, and cause bruising of the brain.
Jake
Paul gets his jaw broken. Not only that, but he gets his lower jaw broken from the right and the left side. So both sides. And not only this, following that, he went through an emergency surgery procedure to get that sorted out, and titanium plates were inserted to help stabilize the case. This will take long to fully heal.
Drinking every night and doing all this and beat you.
Yeah, it was bad.
If you look at the fight, he was much slower. He only threw a hook. Like,
the Jake Paul boxing dream just turned into his worst nightmare. Jaw completely destroyed, teeth scattered across the canvas, and while Anthony Joshua walks away victorious, it's actually Gervonta Davis who's celebrating hardest from the sidelines. What nobody saw coming wasn't just the knockout itself, but how fast everything Jake built came crashing down, and why this single fight might have ended his elite boxing career before it really started. This went way beyond a simple knockout. This was Jake Paul getting completely exposed on the biggest stage possible. 4 times he hit that canvas, 4 times he tried to get back up, and when he finally couldn't answer that bell, the real damage was just beginning to show. Keep watching, because what happened after the camera stopped rolling is somehow even more devastating than what you saw live.
he was going like tie him down and catch him with a good shot and shit like that.
So wait, do you think, curious, because it's a business aspect, but again, I'm still a nigga. And
Hours pass and Jake's posting from his hospital bed. The x-rays tell a horrifying story. His jaw snapped clean in half. Not 1 break, but 2. Titanium plates being prepped for emergency surgery, and somehow through all that pain, he's still calling out Canelo Alvarez. That single post from his hospital bed sent shockwaves through the entire boxing community.
A couple of times, pushed down on the back of his neck, pushed down on the back of his head, got him to the ground. There was a few times where Jake looked like he was going for a takedown. Again, that was Jake trying to engage in the clinch, and AJ smartly moved back. In one instance, I think it was the 5th round, Jake engaged for a clinch, AJ moved back and started punching down.
Social media went absolutely insane for all the wrong reasons. Fans weren't rallying behind him, they were laughing at him. Real fighters weren't showing respect, they were shaking their heads. Everyone in boxing finally admitted what they'd been whispering for months. Anthony Joshua hits like a freight train, and Jake Paul just found out the hard way. The medical reports that came next changed everything we thought we knew about this fight.
To Anthony Joshua sleeping Jake and breaking his jaw in 2 different places, along with breaking his teeth. Gervonta joined the fun with the rest of the boxing community by throwing a meme on Jake Paul. That was his reaction, as you guys see above.
What happened behind those hospital doors was way worse than anything Jake showed his followers. Emergency room doctors working through the night, surgical teams dealing with fractures they normally see in high-speed car accidents, not boxing matches. If that sounds extreme, wait until you hear what the surgeons actually found when they opened him up.
Jake Paul was knocked out in round 6 and suffered 2 fractures to his left jaw. Here's the moment that did it.
Chin served on a platter for that right hand right there. And look at Jake Paul
Paul's face.
There's no way I can share the actual injury here. It's a bit too gruesome as the camera was put inside Jake's mouth and his teeth were actually not in a straight line. They were separated from the others as the jaw deviated. The question is though, what kind of recovery process Jake would be
4 straight hours under the knife, titanium hardware being drilled directly into his skull. The final diagnosis was even worse than anyone imagined. Both sides of his jaw completely shattered by a single right hand. The kind of devastating power that proved every expert who warned Jake was absolutely right. But this story gets way more controversial from here.
Down on Jake's back. So all of those things kind of deteriorated or emptied Jake's gas tank a lot earlier than I think he expected it to. But overall, I thought he deployed his game plan well for the first 5 rounds and actually had some success. He even moved AJ back a few times, 1 by just jabbing in the air, and 2, when he caught him, he moved AJ.
While some people sent prayers in support, Gervonta Davis was having the time of his life. Tank wasn't hiding his satisfaction, he was broadcasting it. If you want to understand why his reaction has the boxing world completely split, you need to know the history between these two.
Yeah, he just represents everything that's wrong with boxing, unprofessionalism, and he's getting what he's reaping what he sows. But I hate working with people like that. He stands everyone up, film crews, everything, doesn't do any promotion.
People close to Tank say those hospital photos didn't make him feel bad. They made his day. He was replaying that knockout over and over, telling anyone who'd listen that Jake was never built for this level of boxing. Before you judge that reaction though, you need to understand the bad blood that made this personal.
Jake Paul was knocked out in round 6 and suffered 2 fractures to his left jaw. Here's the moment that did it.
Chin served on a platter for that right hand right there. And look at Jake Paul's face.
There's no way I can share the actual injury here. It's a bit too gruesome as the camera was put inside Jake's mouth and his teeth were actually not in a straight line. They were separated from the others as the jaw deviated. The question is though, what...
This whole situation traces back to when Jake and Tank were supposed to fight in Miami. Jake didn't just call him out, he went after Tank's character, questioned his professionalism, made it personal. That was supposed to be Jake's big test, but when legal problems killed the fight, Jake decided to get nasty about it.
AJ came right back in and swung, but he did move him back.
When this fight was first announced, you said to several media members that initially you weren't down for this fight. You thought it was just a little bit too much too soon, to paraphrase. Did he do better? Did Jake do better than you thought? Result aside, obviously you wanted him to win. You thought, I think by the end, that he was going to win, but did he actually do better than you thought initially?
Jake went scorched earth on social media, called Tank unprofessional, unreliable, basically dragged his name through the mud for weeks. Tank never forgot that disrespect, and he's been waiting for someone to humble Jake ever since. When Joshua delivered that beating, Tank saw it as the universe settling accounts.
And doesn't do any posts, but it is what it is. I'm actually glad this all happened this way so that he doesn't get, the biggest paycheck of his life and just continues to be a piece of shit.
The Ring 4, November 22nd. Watch only on DAZN.
So when Anthony Joshua did exactly what everyone predicted, Tank wasn't sympathetic. He saw justice being served, the messages started flying, screenshots got leaked, and the boxing internet exploded into 2 camps. People who thought Tank crossed the line and people who thought Jake finally got what he deserved. Half the boxing world says mocking a guy with a broken jaw and missing teeth is just cruel. The other half says Jake spent years being disrespectful to real fighters and this was inevitable payback. The argument gets even messier when you look at how long Jake's going to be out of action.
Yeah, there's a lot of punching down, practicing, hitting below my knees, and a lot of speed.
He warming up.
We're
now.
sparring.
That's what we need.
We're sparring.
Warm up.
Some
I know
8-year-olds. I got the 8-year-olds in there.
If I find out anything, I'm gonna beat your ass and I'm gonna beat Jaden Love ass. On my mama, I'm gonna beat both of y'all ass. On my mama. And he laughing. He know.
The doctors aren't sugarcoating this recovery. Bilateral jaw fractures like Jake suffered don't heal quickly. 6 to 8 months minimum before he can even think about contact sports. Possibly a full year before he's really ready to fight again. Dental reconstruction, bone grafts, implants, the whole process is going to be brutal. This is where Jake's boxing future hits a major crossroad. For the first time since he started boxing, Jake sounds uncertain about what comes next. Talking about fighting smaller opponents, admitting heavyweight was too big a jump, saying he needs to step back and reassess everything. Those words hit different because they show the mental damage might be worse than the physical damage.
He was a tough guy in there. Obviously, he moved a lot and made it difficult for AJ. And AJ's been out of the ring for a while. He's a bit rusty. It took him time to just get hold of him, but I was impressed with Jake. And listen, as I said to Nikisa, at the end of the day, he took shots that a lot of people would have got knocked out clean out by, especially at the end, you know. So,
Was it frustrating for you to watch?
I mean, maybe like...
Even Anthony Joshua showed class after the fight, saying Jake was tougher than expected and took punishment that would have dropped seasoned heavyweights. That respect somehow makes the loss sting even more, because courage doesn't change the fact that Jake got completely outclassed.
Respect to Jake Paul that we took a few rounds to get going because Jake was moving a lot and holding a lot, and you know it was difficult to nail him clean. I think, but eventually AJ took his time, cut him off, and smashing him about. And listen, respect to Jake Paul because that last shot, I know he broke his shattered his jaw, but it would have knocked most heavyweights out. So I've got to give him credit.
I was going to say, in the end, are you pleased with that? Because obviously everyone was saying.
The biggest question hanging over everything now is whether this ends Jake's run at elite boxing forever, or if it just makes him more determined to come back and prove something once he heals. The answer might already be taking shape.
Rolled his ankle, broke his jaw, still fucking fighting, man. Like, that's toughness. You know, most people wouldn't have the balls ever to step in a boxing ring in their life. He stepped in a boxing ring with one of the baddest men on the planet. Who's 40 pounds heavier than him, is 6 inches taller. That's insane. He's one of the most skilled fighters on the planet, my brother.
And when they're rugby tackling you, but he had to do what he had to do to survive. And he did that. So, you know, it's very difficult to go in like, you know, out the ring for 14 months and just be razor sharp with a guy running. And so, yeah, probably 2 or 3 rounds more than expected. Fair play to Jake Paul. He was a lot tougher than I thought, and he took a lot more shots than I thought he could.
What did AJ tell you inside the ring about the fight?
Wicked fight. Respect to Jake Paul for taking the fight. Took a heavy shot, but you know what? What a fantastic fight he put on. But big well done to AJ. We knew from day one AJ was going to do it, but the better fighter was going to win.
People said that Jake Paul was running. Do you feel like he ran, or do you like...
I mean, against someone like AJ, AJ's a big guy, strong guy, and he can hurt you. So yeah, 100%, like, he's going to want to avoid his power, but you know what? He got caught in the corner and bang you out.
Tank Davis is still riding high, still trending, still getting his name mentioned every time someone talks about Jake's downfall. That cancelled Miami fight feels more significant than ever, because if Jake does come back, that unfinished business with Tank is going to be waiting for him.
Or Jake would have moved around the ring at 100 miles an hour. There's 2 things I would have done. Tried to shut Jake down at 100 miles an hour, or I would have gone on the back foot. So Jake decided to move around the ring, and I decided to put the pressure on. What I could have done better is a lot of things. 100%. In the fight game, you've seen the amazing fighters that...
We'll argue that. He at least won 3. No one expected him to last that long. Rolled his ankle, broke his jaw, still fucking fighting, man. Like, that's toughness. You know, most people wouldn't have the balls ever to step in a boxing ring in their life. He stepped in a boxing ring with one of the baddest men on the planet. Who's 40 pounds heavier than him, is 6 inches taller. That's insane. He's one of the most skilled fighters on the planet, my brother.
Right now, the memes keep flowing, the arguments keep going, and everyone keeps coming back to the same brutal image. Jake Paul, confident and smiling before the opening bell. Jake Paul broken and motionless after the final bell. 2 photos that sum up everything about what just happened.
Have graced us over the last 100 years, and the expectations that we put on ourselves are immense, but I tried my best. Jake done well while it lasted, but if you remember what I said in the interview with Cameron is, fighting's not just physical, it's psychological. And
this wasn't just another loss on Jake's record, this was a reality check delivered with surgical precision to every social media star who thinks attitude can replace actual skill. While Jake recovers in private and Tank celebrates in public, the sport of boxing just reminded everyone that eventually the truth always comes out, and sometimes it comes out violently.